Hey guys, welcome to Higurashi When They Cry. I've always been a big fan of this series, the anime, and when I found out they had a visual novel, I decided to try it out. So, I'm hoping this goes way deeper than the anime. This is one of my most favorite animes, so I'm really looking forward to this. Let's get started. Onikakushi opening. Demon Away chapter. Welcome to the world of Higurashi When They Cry. The Onikakushi arc will be the opening, inviting you into this world. Sit back, relax, and enjoy life in Hinamizawa to the fullest. The difficulty for this chapter is extremely high, but I hope you will enjoy the reward. I am not sure what they mean by difficulty. I was under the impression this was a visual novel, and I would just be reading it. So we'll see. If I was going to be ripped apart anyways, having my body ripped apart would have been far better. I trusted her. No, I still trust her. Even in this very moment, I trust her. But I'm starting to realize I only wanted to trust her because I refused to accept the truth. It was as if I was trying to convince myself in such a silly, sobbing voice. And those tears making a mess of my face. That mechanical, repetitious sound finally stilled, and everything fell silent. Only the cry of the cicadas remained, annoyingly loud. And yet, I felt as if I could still hear her voice. But that's not possible. She is no longer speaking. The only one crying is me. She never cried. Even when she repeated those words over and over, she never expressed any emotion because there was none to show. If she had no tears to shed for me, then I shouldn't need to shed any for her. Then why? This pain, my eyes getting moist. Why was this happening? I still wanted to believe I hadn't been split apart. That's enough, right? Inside me, an inner voice whispered gently, my spirit has suffered enough. And countless times I I wavered over whether I should throw the battered thing away. Except, I've stubbornly refused to do that, haven't I? I'd feel better if I just threw it away. Even knowing that, I choose to believe, didn't I? I chose to believe. Only I can understand that painful struggle and appreciate it. Amy, I've tried more than enough. I'll acknowledge that much. So, isn't it alright just to take the easy way out? Besides, I'm not throwing it away. I'm leaving it behind with her. Like flowers by a grave. Now then, calm your nerves. Even though you can't feel your right arm, just lift it up. And with every swing, forget a little more. That kindness made me happy. That adorable smile brought me joy. I liked petting your head. I loved how demure you were. Because this will be the last time. Because when I swing this down, I'll forget. This is my first and last bouquet for you. Perhaps I really did love you. What an intro. Alright. Somebody has been apologizing for a while now. I wonder what she's apologizing for. It felt wrong to eavesdrop, so I tried to ignore it. It had been a while since I last went to the city. I only returned to attend the funeral of a relative. Even though I'd lived there until last month, I found the bustle of the city to be overwhelming. Those skyscrapers. And multi-lane roads. The melodious canopy of the crosswalk. Even the campaign speeches blaring in front of the station felt nostalgic. The place where I live now isn't nearly as lively. There's only the chirping of locusts and the babbling of brooks, and the cry of Higurashi, the evening cicadas. Rather than making me feel lonely, that quietness had begun to instill a sense of serenity. There is nothing where I'm living now. I don't just mean there are any burger joints. There aren't even vending machines. No music stores, no restaurants, no arcades. An ice cream parlor? No chance. The nearest town has some stuff like that, but it's an hour away by bike. But come to think of it, it wasn't really a big deal. There were music stores and arcades and ice cream parlors where I used to live, but it wasn't like I ever hung out at any of them. I had lived in the city for 10 years and never once been to an ice cream parlor. I should have gone at least once. It's only now that I'm starting to regret that a little. Somebody is still apologizing. Who is she apologizing to? She's apologized so much, so just forgive her already. There's no reason anyone should ever need to apologize this much. I started to feel a bit annoyed at whoever was refusing to forgive her. No matter how bad the mistake, there's nothing that can't be forgiven. There's no such thing as an irreparable mistake. We just need to be more careful next time. She's still apologizing, even now. Then, has she really done something that can't be fixed? I have no idea what she's done, but if it can't be fixed, then that's all the more reason to forgive her. No matter how much she apologizes, nothing will change. But even so, she keeps apologizing in such a heartbreaking voice. Hey you, the one she's apologizing to. Why don't you just go ahead and forgive her? She's apologizing in such a pathetic voice.
圭一、そろそろ着くぞ。起きなさい。
I was finally roused from my nap by my father's prodding. It seemed the train had reached its final stop. We spent hours riding, everything from the bullet train to the local roads. It was hard to believe that the landscape beyond the window in the city I was in half a day ago were the same country. that they were even in the same era. From there, we take a car deep into the mountains. Past where the dense forest encroaching on the mountain road suddenly opened. It's beautiful. There where I live now, Hinamizawa. You know, I would love to live in like a village like this. Maybe not like this exactly, but I'm a huge fan of these peaceful areas. Even though we were approaching summer, the morning air still had a frigid bite. Although in exchange you could fill your lungs with the crisp, clean air. Flipping open the window, I was greeted with a verdant expanse. Nothing but trees. The neighboring house was far away on the other side, so I was probably the only one enjoying that view and that air. I filled my lungs with another deep breath. Since I started living in Hinamizawa, I learned that even the air has its own taste. I quickly finished getting ready for school and headed downstairs for breakfast. My mother was the only one there. Father was nowhere to be seen. He's probably up working until early morning. Dad had a rather unconventional job as a painter. Such a laid-back profession. Get up when you want, sleep when you want, and work when you want. I was so jealous of that easygoing lifestyle. I even wrote for school that I wanted to be a painter when I grew up. Dad was so ecstatic about that. It was just because it looked easy. I'd never tell him that though. Mom laid breakfast out on the table. Seaweed, pickled vegetables, raw egg, and grilled salmon. My mom was such a good cook, it was scary. A perfect, immaculate, ideal breakfast. Unlike my dad, who didn't even know the meaning of the word schedule, my mom never squandered any time or effort. She hummed a little tune as she brought over the miso soup. It seemed like she was in a good mood today.
こっちに引っ越してきてから圭一が早起きになって嬉しいわね。
早起きしないと朝飯を食いそびれるんだよ。
I thought I was being cute, responding with a wisecrack after being praised for being good.
ご飯はいっぱい？それとも半分くらいでいい？
山盛り。
First, I savored the steaming hot rice with the seaweed. After that, I covered it with the egg. Between bites of rice, I enjoyed the crunch of the pickles. Not bad at all. Excellent as usual. Watching me clean my plate, my mom gave me a warm smile.
こっちに引っ越してきてから圭一が朝食を欠かさないんで嬉しいわね。
I was not a morning person when we lived in the city. I slept right until the last minute before school and rarely ate breakfast. Boycotting breakfast? Mom made me each morning. That was probably the only way I could protest being forced to attend cram school. I guess that was what you'd call my rebellious phase. I wouldn't so much as look at the breakfast she woke up early every day to make. If I could go back in time, I'd slap myself. Mindful of the time, Mom rushed me along with a wide grin.
そろそろレナちゃんと待ち合わせの時間じゃない？急いで急いで。
So, I saw the anime, but this was like at least 10 years or so ago. So, I don't remember everything, but I do remember I loved it. Right? So, I'm kind of going in blind again, so to say. That's why I'm looking forward to this. Mom really seemed to enjoy the fact that her son was going to school with a girl. Rena is one of my classmates. She really loves looking after people, coming to meet me every day without fail. The way I look at it, a guy my age walking to school with a girl was just lame. Oh well. Keeping a classmate waiting for me every day wouldn't be very considerate. Seriously though, how long does Rena wait there for me every morning? Taking one last gulp of miso soup, I raced for the door.
レナちゃんにお漬物ありがとうって伝えてね。
Come to think of it, those pickles weren't store-bought, were they? If I'd known that, I would have savored them a bit more.
あいよ。
ケイチくん、おはよ
Her cheerful greeting was as fresh as the morning itself.
相変わらず早えな。たまにはのんびり朝寝坊したっていいんだぜ。
う。お寝坊したらケイチくんを待たせちゃうじゃない。
Wow, she greets us every morning. She's waiting for us. She's so conscientious and such a good person.
そん時は置いてく。
ケイチくん冷たい。いつも待っててあげてるのに。
サクサク置いてく。キリキリ置いてく。
どうして冷たいんだろう。
That's cute. She repeats it. Rena had a slightly troubled look on her face. Toying with her was fun. Toying with her was rather fun because of how quickly her mood changed.
嘘。ちゃんと待ってるよ。
With those words, Rena seemed to relax. Her face flushed bright red.
ありがとう。
レナが来るまでずーっと待ってる。
Alright, careful, Keiichi. Those dangerous words you're saying to a girl.
いつまでも。
Rena turned bright red, steam rising from her head as her brain short-circuited. She's especially weak to this sort of talk. It's quite rare to find someone this fun to tease.
レナはロマンスものの文庫本は読んだことあるか？
ないよ。読んだことない。
From that response, I gathered she was interested in them but was too embarrassed to actually buy one. I couldn't imagine what would happen if she did read one. She'd probably turn red and pass out.
そうそう、お袋から伝言。漬物サンキューでしたって。
どういたしまして。どうだった？しょっぱくなかったかな？
They weren't that salty. Actually, they had a pretty light flavor to them. It would have been fine to just be honest and say that they were good, but apparently, I couldn't be that forthright.
その前に聞きたい。あの漬物を漬けたのはレナか？レナのお母さんか？
なんで聞くんだろう。しょっぱかった？
Her attitude completely changed as she began to panic frantically.
レナか？レナのお母さんか？
なんで作った人聞くんだろう、太郎。
She doesn't know what to answer. I bet she made it. Yeah.
どっちが作ったかで感想が著しく変わる。
She counted frantically on her fingers, trying to remember the amount of salt she used to pickle them. Yeah. It wasn't like I was trying to tease her, but I couldn't stop myself. Guys who take pleasure in this kind of thing are probably the worst. Guys like me. Rena nervously opened and closed her mouth over and over, trying to muster a response.
レナだけど。
She told the truth.
うまかった。前回に続きなかなかだったぜ。飯との相性は最高だった。
Her face went bright red again. She was completely spacing out. It truly was a lot of fun to tease her. I pray that Rena never gets taken advantage of by some lowlife. Keep at it, Rena. I'll train you until you can handle it like an average person. I decided for myself.
行こうぜ。ミオンを待たせるとあいつうるさいぞ。
Seeing as she'd just keep spacing out otherwise, I called Rena back to reality so we could make our way to school. This strange, easily flustered girl is Rena Ryugyu. Not sure if I said that right. We'll just call her Rena. I've only known her for about a month, but I've come to realize that it's not just her name that's strange. Coming up to the next rendezvous point, we saw another person waiting for us. Noticing us, she waved.
お、来た来た。遅いよ二人とも。
いつも遅いのはお前の方だろう。
In sharp contrast to the diligent Rena, this one marched to the beat of her own drum. She's Mion Sonozaki. For what it's worth, she's our senior and head of the class.
おはようレナ。そしてケイちゃんお久しぶり。何年ぶりだっけ？
What?
2日しか休んでねえよ。
そうだっけか？前に会った時はあんなに可愛かったのにな。
So she's a jokester. Mion's gaze started at my chest and dropped straight down, focusing on the point between my legs. What? So, she was saying it was my crotch that was cuter back then? Before you ask, just to be clear, I've never actually tried to show it to her.
そうだよ、立派になったぞ。驚くぞ。
たくましくなっちゃった上にヒゲまで生やしちゃってさ。
毎朝元気全開で大変なんだ。今度見せてやるから挨拶してみろ。
Jeez.
今度なんて言わないで今がいいな。朝の新鮮な空気を吸わせてあげたら。
I don't think I've ever heard talk so dirty. You could smell it fouling up the morning air before. Mion sure does act like an old man sometimes.
よし、わかった。大公開だ。後悔するなよ。
As my hand reached for my fly, Rena began to ramble in a near panic.
ねえねえ、何の話？何の話だろう？何の話だろう？
Red-faced and flustered, Rena tried to play dumb, but it was obvious she knew exactly what we were talking about.
どうだった？久しぶりの都会はさ。
Mion switched gears, dropping the dirty talk, and changing the topic to something more befitting the pleasant morning.
葬式で行っただけだぜ。慌ただしいだけだったよ。
でさ、探しといてくれた？頼んどいたやつ。
お前、人の話聞いてないだろ。俺は葬式で帰っただけだぜ。おもちゃ屋巡りをしてる余裕なんかなかったんだよ。
ち。おもちゃ屋とホビーショップは全然違うよ。特に洋物、こっちじゃなかなか手に入らないからね。みーちゃん、またゲームの話？
Mion nodded proudly as Rena giggled.
そう、ケイちゃんに洋芸のカタログを持ってきてもらいたかったんだけどね。
Westport was short for Western Imported Games. Using that abbreviation did make it sound pretty geeky.
そんなのまた通販で取り寄せりゃいいじゃねえか。
ま、そうするかな。またプレイングの熱いゲームを入荷するからね。今度は私にも分かりやすいゲームがいいな。
Mion is a board and card game enthusiast. I hear she's collected quite a lot of different ones. According to Rena, Mion's room has kind of become a museum for domestic and foreign games.
俺にも分かりそうなゲームがあったらやらせてくれよ。
いいよ。ケイちゃんさえ良ければね。でもうちらのレベルは高いよ。
上等じゃねえか。俺だって遊び100番遅れを取るつもりはないぜ。
はあ、じゃあ今度はケイチ君も仲間に加わるのかな。
Bristling with joy from head to toe, Rena looked back and forth between me and Mion. Mion gave her an affirmative wink, and her expression perked up even further.
男の子ってきっと外で遊ぶ方が好きだと思ってたからダメかと思ってたよ。
Rena laughed happily. From such a friendly conversation, you wouldn't think that I had moved here less than a month ago. I understood that they did all they could to make a transfer student like me feel at home. I'll have to try harder to fit in. so they won't feel like they have to try to make me feel welcome. I felt like if I acted a bit more open than I usually am, it should probably be about right for this place. Inamizawa was a really small village. Not only was there only one school, but there was only one class. The class encompasses all different grades and ages. There are about 30 students at different levels, and they all study in the same class. I'm told that long ago, there used to be a bigger school building, and they had actual separate classes. However, it seems something happened that made it become a single class, and now it stayed that way out of tradition. I was shocked at first, but humans adapt pretty quickly. I've already gotten quite used to this. The sound of children playing started right from the morning. With such a lively mood, it felt more like a kindergarten than a proper school. Not that that was a bad thing. Right in front of the class door, let me read this other part. Mion, who was walking in front of us up until then, suddenly let me take the lead right in front of the classroom door. So I was meant to slide the door open and into the room first. Huh. Too bad. I wasn't gonna fall for that again.
ここで先頭を譲るとはな。お手並み拝見ってことかよ。
Mion chuckled with a haughty smirk on her face.
どうしたの二人とも。
下がってろレナ。危ないぞ。
危ないぞ。
やつだ。
じゃあ、さとこちゃんが
Her name was Satoko Hojo. She was disrespectful, impudent, bossy kid. The way she talks was annoying, but it would be immature to get worked up over just that. The real problem was this.
見え見えの罠だな。引き戸の上に挟んだ黒板消し。見え見えだぜ、サトコ。
The haughty laugh. A haughty laugh came from behind the door.
お見事、ケイちゃん。こりゃ今回は勝負あったかな。
いや、相手はサトコだ。これだけとは思えない。
After falling for such intricate traps since the day I transferred, I no longer let my guard down. Satsuko liked to combine a variety of traps that were simply there to bait you into the main one, traps that relentlessly kept coming at you like a sadistic Rube Goldberg machine. The list goes on. So she set a trap for the trap, but that's actually a trap for the main trap. Yeah, that's crazy. As well as being clever, they almost never misfire. When you least expect it, she strikes. No escape, no time to relax.
見たところ黒板消しは普通。石とかは入れてないみたいだな。
I took a pretty heavy hit from a blackboard eraser loaded with rocks on my first day.
じゃあさ
それだ。
That's what Satoko was after, making me focus my attention upward. So as I lifted my hand to the door, there were thumbtacks stuck to the sliding door handle with tape, a frightening trap. A potent and terrifying trap. That is crazy. Thumbtacks. Concealed by the blackboard eraser.
見事なコンボだサトコ。だが所詮はガキの浅知恵だったな。
Assured of my victory, I threw the door open and stepped into the room. I felt something strange at my ankle. It was similar to the sensation of a jump rope catching on my leg. By the time I realized it had me, hook, line, and sinker, it was already too late. I began to fall in the almost picturesque manner.
ケイちゃん、避けて。
Instinctively, reacting to Mion's shrill warning, I twisted my body in midair before I landed on the floor.
いっててて。
An ink stone filled to the brim was placed right where I would have landed. I shuddered, imagining the situation had I landed square on it.
あらあら、これはこれは。
Satoko.
おはようございます、ケイチさん。朝から賑やかですわね。
She still sprawled in an awkward position. I was greeted by a mocking voice.
一段とスペシャルなトラップワークになったじゃないか、サトコ。
私何のことかわかりませんもの。
Oh, playing innocent?
朝からついてませんわね。
てめえ。あ、いっててててて。
It seemed I'd inadvertently sprained my back a little when I landed. Better than landing on that ink stone. A small hand gently rubbed my head.
ケイチの痛いの痛いの飛んでいけです。
A small dainty hand continued to gently stroke my head.
腰とかはくじかなかったですか？こうして撫でていれば痛いの痛いのは消えてきますです。
I thought about asking how rubbing my head would help my back, but I didn't. It's not so much about what you actually do, it's the thought that counts.
ありがとな。リカちゃんのおかげで痛みが引いてきたぜ。
リカちゃん、おはよう。レナにおはようございます。みんなにもおはようございますです。
Rika-chan greeted us with an adorable little bow. It was infectious. Rena, Mion, and I all bowed back.
リカちゃんはいい子だよな。それに比べてサトコは。
I glared over in her direction. Satoko was whistling rather deliberately, trying to avoid eye contact.
サトコはいい子でございますのことよ。
いい子はこんな凶悪な罠は仕掛けないぞ。
言いがかりでございますわ。何の証拠があって。うわ
I picked up Satoko by the back of her collar. She looked like a misbehaved cat when I do this. But a cat wouldn't be setting traps. She's much harder to deal with.
ごめんなさいって言ってみな。 言わないなら
I cocked my index finger on my thumb, letting it tremble as I brought it closer to Satsuko's forehead.
暴力反対ですの。証拠もないのに。
言っとくが俺のデコピンはすごく痛い。ベニヤくらいなら割る。
Oh,
やめて、寄らないでけだもの。
you beast, what?
人様が聞いたら誤解するような言い方をするんじゃねえ。
A small hand tugged on the back of my shirt.
圭一が2日間もお休みしたから寂しかったのです。
Rika-chan really is just so... How could I do anything more after being told that? I gently released my grip on Satsuko, who at this point was on the verge of tears. She still had her eyes clamped shut as she braced herself for the forehead flick.
うわー、悔しくなんかないもん。泣いちゃダメです、さとこ。ファイト、おーです。
Rika gently patted the head of her prankster friend. You would never guess those two were the same age. I think Satsuko could learn a thing or a million from Rika-chan.
今度はもっとすごい罠を仕掛けなさいですよ。
Wait a minute. As she observed the scene, Rena's expression grew ecstatic as she began to swoon.
さとこちゃん泣いている。
Why is she swooning over her crying?
かいいよ。
持ち帰っちゃダメだからね。
だってこんなにかわいいよ。
どんなに可愛くてもダメなの。
でもちょっとくらいならダメかな。
Rena kept a cutesy face even as outrageous ideas spewed from her mouth. According to Mion, Rena is ridiculously weak to cute things and always tries to take them home. Object or person.
物もまずいが誘拐はもっとまずいぞ。諦めろ。
じゃあ見てるだけだよ。それならいいよね。
Rena swooned over Satoko's crying form. If a girl ever goes missing in Hinamazawa, I'll be forced to turn Rena in to the authorities. Forgive me, Rena. I'll be sure to bring you a care package when they put you away.
先生来たよ。早く片付ける。さとこ、すずりあんたのでしょ。
Just from Mion's single statement, the entire mood of the room shifted back to normal. The inkstone was bad, but the thumbtacks stuck to the door handle were an even bigger problem. I pulled the tape off carefully, making sure not to skewer myself. Even though Satoko was the one who set it up, everyone had to pick up after her. By the time the teacher entered the room, the bedlam from before had been neatly tidied up.
間に合ったね。起立。気をつけ。
Mion gave out the morning commands. It's difficult being the teacher for all these different grades in one classroom. She has to teach something different to each one. And naturally, She ends up spending all her time with the younger kids. Rena and Mion, being in the highest grade in the class, end up mostly doing self-study. They even end up helping teach the younger kids, so it seems like they can never get to their own studies. They're actually way behind where my studies have progressed to. As a result, I'm pretty much taking over for the teacher and helping Rena and Mion with their studies.
ケイチ君はお勉強教えるのうまいね。わかりやすいよ。
Rena took a breather after finishing highlighting an important section. So there's only one teacher in the entire school?
教える端から自信がなくなるよ。自分の理解の浅さがわかるな。
人に教えるには3倍理解してなければならないって言うしね。ケイちゃんもうちらに教えながら同時に復習もできてるわけなんだよ。
In contrast, this person over here was quite laissez-faire. I'm not sure how to say that about things. For one, isn't she supposed to be in a higher grade than me?
ミオンさ、一言じゃないぞ。真剣にやんないとまずいぜ。こんなレベルじゃ。
別に進学校を目指すわけでもないし、受験に必要なそこそこができてりゃ十分。
Her slouched defiance was really something else. This was a different type of relaxed than somebody who already knew what was going to be on the entrance exams.
みーちゃん、ケイチ君が頑張って教えてくれるんだからさ、私たちも頑張ろうよ。
レナは素直ないい子だな。先生がきっといい学校に進学させてやるからな。
ありがとう。
レナには特に教えてやるからな。二人きりでプライベートレッスンだぞ。
プライベートレッスン。
A puff of smoke shaped like a halo popped out of Rena's head. Exactly what kind of private lesson is she fantasizing about that's making her turn so red? I'd like to hear the play-by-play of that next time. While Mion was flipping through her vocabulary flashcards, she threw out a casual question.
都会じゃさ、こんなに勉強しなきゃいけないわけ？
この程度はできないと進学できないね。
進学できないから勉強するわけ？
まあ平たく言えばそうなるな。将来役に立たないのは承知で。
こっちじゃあさ、出席日数が足りてりゃみんな進学できるんだよ。
そうなのか？
Study equal entrance exams. Having that basic law of the universe so easily overturned sent me into a state of shock.
そうかもね。試験で振り落とさなきゃならないほど人もいないし。誰でも進学できるならさ、そんなにガリガリとやることもないんじゃない？
まあそうだけど、でも一般常識程度にはできた方が。
おじさんはそんな無駄な勉強に時間をかけるよりさ、この思春期の貴重な時間をもっと有意義に過ごすために使うべきじゃないかなと考えるわけよ。
It was too profound of a statement to simply laugh off. But since it was Mion, it probably didn't have that deep of a meaning. In place of a chime, the sound of the principal waving a handbill drifted through the classroom.
ケイちゃん、おしまい。
さ
楽しいランチタイム。
In a complete 180 from her unmotivated state, Mion gave the commands that signaled the end of the morning period.
ケイチくん、お昼にしよう。
I might have been making a very troubled face. Rena smiled brightly at me.
よっしゃ、飯にするか。
There seemed to be different cliques even within the class. Most of them were divided up by gender and age, but our group was different. Our ages were different, and we had both boys and girls. But we weren't reserved around each other. This level of openness makes a transfer student like me pretty happy. Rena and Mion pushed their desks together so that they were facing each other. At the same time, Satoko and Rika-chan were slowly lugging their desk over as well.
ケイチくん、早く早く。
Rena waved her chopsticks in an unrefined manner, trying to hurry me along. Unless everyone was together, they wouldn't even open their lunch boxes.
ケイチさんのお弁当はきっと貧乏くさくパンの耳に決まってますわ。
Wow, so they eat together.
そう、恥ずかしがらずにお見せなさいな。ほらほら。
Even though Satoko was hurling insults at me, she still wouldn't open the lid to her lunchbox until I was there. I pulled out my lunchbox swiftly and dragged my chair over to join the circle.
おう、お待たせ。
では、ミー委員長の号令でいただきますです。
At first, this was kind of embarrassing, but I got used to it pretty fast. At this point, I probably wouldn't even open my own lunchbox if someone else was too slow. Our ages and genders may have all been different, but we were all friends.
いただきます。
I like that. That's sweet. The sound of our little 5-part chorus echoed beautifully throughout the classroom. Really though, I've gotten pretty used to this group made of girls. Of course, there are other boys in the class, but they were a lot younger, so they were scared to approach me. Well, that's to be expected. Younger boys just see older boys as scary. Compared to girls, well, at least these girls aren't picky. We put all the side dishes in the middle where everybody was free to pick at them. I thought girls would mind sharing a meal with a guy. So I was a bit flustered in joining them. However, Mion noticed that and teased me quite a bit. As the fruit of my efforts, I can now reach over and take sides from anybody's lunch.
あらあら、ケイチさんのお弁当は今日は大奮発ではございませんこと。
あらあら、さとこさんのお弁当こそ大奮発ですこと。煮物がしっくていい感じですわ。
Buying into the fight that Satoko was starting, our chopsticks locked in a cross counter, stabbing into each other's lunch.
ビビ
お、里芋がいい感じだぞ。煮物は冷めててもうまいよな。
After seeing my happy face, Rika-chan's expression broke into a little smile.
夕べの夕食の煮物少し取っておきましたですよ。
By the way, Satoko and Rina-chan's lunches are always the same. It seems like Rika-chan makes it for both of them every day.
この煮物もリカちゃんが作ったのかい？こいつはお袋の味クラスだよな。
I was honestly impressed. Those carrot rosettes weren't from a mold. They were done by hand with a knife. That's not easy to do.
リカちゃんって何気にそういうの得意なんだよな。
お裁縫とかお洗濯とかも上手なの。すごいよね。すっごいよね。リカはいろいろとすごいんですのよ。
Why are you laughing like it's you?
お前が威張ることじゃねえ。
Yeah, that's nothing for you to boast about.
僕よりレナの方がお料理は上手です。
Really?
そのね。
It seemed that the topic of conversation switched to Rena when she wasn't expecting it, making her blush and trip all over her words. Rena's lunch really was the star of the table. Not only did it look good, it tasted good. Everyone pulled from Rena's lunchbox constantly.
これ前に評判良かったからいっぱい作ってみたの。美味しいかな？
かなり合格点。あ、ミオ、お前取りすぎだよ。
Knocking Mia's chopsticks aside, I reach out, trying to secure my own portion. Satsuka and Rika-chan reach over at the same time, and a struggle ensued. Everyone shoveled in mouthful after mouthful while praising it, and Rena's lunchbox was soon empty. Did she even get any? It was kind of bad that no one thought to leave any for Rena. But Rena seemed rather satisfied as she looked on.
いかがかしら。レナさんもとてもお料理が上手ですことよ。ケイイチさんとは大違いですの。
だからお前が威張ることじゃねえだろ。
サトコだってケイちゃんと変わらないじゃんよ。あんたブロッコリーとカリフラワーの区別つくようになったわけ？
Satsuka's face went pale.
おいおい、ブロッコリーとカリフラワーの違いなら俺だってわかるぜ。
わかりますもの。わかるもん。
It's really hard for her to lie.
ケイイチくん、どっちでも茹でてマヨネーズかけると美味しいじゃない？
Mayo? I've never ever tried that before. Does that actually taste good?
いじめちゃかわいそうだよ。みーちゃんも。
Rena hurriedly tried to follow up, but Mion laughed haughtily as she drew closer to Satsuka.
まあまあ家庭科の授業ってことで。じゃあサトコ、これは？
Mion lifted her chopsticks. Between them was a piece of green stuff wrapped in bacon.
でもそれアスパラ。
Mion made eye contact with me, and within 3.3 seconds, I had Rika-chan's mouth covered. That's crazy. Holding a piece of bacon-wrapped asparagus and giving her two choices. She's pretty terrible.
その黄色がカリフラワー、緑がカリフラ。
Oh.
さあどっちだ？
多分黄色がブロッコリーで青がカリフラワー。でも緑はその。
本当にどっちか分かってる？ 降参した方が良くない？
I'd expect no less from the class representative. The oldest. The way she drives people into a corner just shows how much experience she has. This is just a hunch, but being brought into the Sonozaki household, being brought into the Sonozaki household must be quite the ordeal.
わかりますもの。わかるもん。
じゃあ答えなよ。
わかるもん。わかるもん。
Aw. She finally broke down and started crying. When she acts like this, she actually starts to seem her age. Rina entered a state of euphoria as Satoko bawled her eyes out. Rina was in a state of bliss as she rubbed her cheek against Satoko's head and smothered her. Really, a very content face. One that wouldn't care if the world ended right now. It was that kind of smile.
レナレナ、ミオンさんがいじめるんですの。かいかい。大丈夫だよ。レナお姉ちゃんが悪い人たちはやっつけちゃうからね。
My little sister. Oh. It was like a flash of lightning.
今一体何が？
Both Rena's fists shot out in a supersonic speed, striking Mion and me squarely in our faces. Before we knew it, Mion and I were sprawled, spread eagle, on the floor, staring up at the ceiling, with matching welts on our face.
ケイちゃんは食らうの初めてだよね。今日のはまだ甘い方。
She actually punched us in the face.
甘いって、これよりまだ上があるってのかよ。
With that, Mion and I both slumped our heads back to the floor in unison. From now on, I'll be careful when I'm within striking distance of Rina.